you often feel short of breath, even though there's no physical reason? Do you find yourself sighing or yawning more when you're anxious? Are you unsure whether your breathlessness is anxiety related or something else entirely? And do you panic when you can't seem to catch your breath, even though the doctor says everything is fine? Perhaps you have been checked over medically, but you're still left with that lingering feeling that something's just not quite right. Now, if you nodded along to any of these, then you're in the right place. Welcome back to our channel, where we talk about all things related to anxiety and your mental well-being. If you're new here, my name is Jennifer Roblin. I'm an anxiety specialist and therapist and the founder of Better Your Life. I've helped thousands of people overcome anxiety and start living a life where they truly thrive. And that includes helping clients understand what's really going on when anxiety changes the way they breathe. So, in today's video, we're exploring the powerful and often misunderstood link between anxiety and breathlessness. And most importantly, how we can begin to feel better. So in this video, you're going to learn why anxiety affects your breathing. You're going to learn how to tell if it may be anxiety related and what you can do to take back control and finally start feeling like yourself again. So let's have a look at the anxiety-breath connection. When we feel anxious, it's just not in our heads. Anxiety actually lives in our bodies. Now, one of the most common physical symptoms is breathlessness. When our brain senses a threat, whether that's a real or imagined threat, it activates what we call the fight and flight response. Now, this is one of the first things to change. It's our breathing, and this is called hyperventilation. This is where we breathe rapidly and shallowly, right up in our chests here. It leads to a drop in carbon dioxide in the blood, and which can make us feel tight in the chest, dizzy, tingly, or like we just can't get a full, satisfying, deep breath in. Now, although it's not dangerous when it's anxiety related, I do know myself how it can feel absolutely terrifying when we can't breathe. Now, one of our clients, Sarah from London, she summed it up really well when she told me it felt like she was suffocating. She couldn't get a full breath in, and that panicked her even more. She visited her doctor multiple times, seeking that constant reassurance that she wasn't seriously ill, and she told me that every test came back normal. That was when her GP suggested she spoke to me, because he recognised that it was actually anxiety that was causing her problem. It wasn't anything physical. So how do we know if anxiety is behind our breathlessness? Now, often the breathlessness appears or gets worse when you feel stressed, when you're feeling anxious, when you're feeling burned out. Now, if you're feeling overwhelmed and maybe it comes on at certain times of the day, or maybe when you're sitting still and you're not actually doing anything, you might even be relaxing, but we suddenly feel that we can't breathe properly. Now, medical tests may show no issues, but we still feel like something isn't right. It's also common to experience this breathlessness alongside other anxiety symptoms, and this could be things like a racing heart, a dizziness, a tight chest, a tingling feeling or numbness in our limbs. Now, often it eases when we're distracted or doing something enjoyable. This is another clue that our breathlessness is linked to our nervous system rather than our lungs or our heart. Now, if this sounds familiar, know this. What you're experiencing is real, but it can also be helped by managing your anxiety. So let's look at a few things that might be unintentionally making your breathlessness worse. Now, first, we often become hyper aware of our breathing when we're feeling anxious. We start monitoring it, trying to control it, and then we find ourselves caught up in a loop of trying to get a proper breath in, which only creates more tension for us. Now, sometimes we unconsciously even hold our breath, or we take really shallow breaths that really don't satisfy us as we need them to. Now, another thing to be aware of is your posture. Bad posture, like rounding your shoulders over and caving in, making ourselves as small as we possibly can also physically limit how much air we're able to take in. Now, if you think about it, this is the standard posture of somebody struggling with anxiety or depression, and it really helps our breathing if we're to stand tall with our shoulders back and our gaze upwards. Now, oftentimes when we are depressed or anxious, we tend to look downwards towards the floor because that's historically where all our predators were. Now, notice how different the outcome is when you think about a challenge that you may be facing, whilst at the same time having your gaze upwards. Now, that sounds too easy to make a difference, but it will activate your parasympathetic nervous system. And that's what we call the rest and digest response. And that is the opposite of our fight and flight. So we go out of the fight and flight response, which is when we're looking down, and we go into the rest and digest response when we look up. Now, other habits that are impacting your breathing are things like caffeine, poor sleep, or stress at work or home, and our already sensitive nervous system goes into overdrive. But once we understand these patterns, we can gently begin to change them. Now, I would initially recommend talking to your GP if you are at all struggling. However, many people I work with, they tell me that they feel that they're dismissed by their GP when they speak to them or their care provider about their symptoms. Now, if that's happening to you, you're not alone. It can really help to go into that appointment with your care provider prepared. So try keeping a track of when the symptoms occur, how they feel, and whether they coincide with stressful events or anxious thoughts. Be open about the emotional side of things. Even if your anxiety doesn't feel obvious, your nervous system might be on high alert and might be trying to tell you something. So you want to ask questions like, could this be related to anxiety? Or are there any other things that we should be exploring right now? Now, these small shifts can open up a more helpful conversation. Now, our GPs in the UK are mostly trained to focus on the physical symptoms. However, it's really important that we treat our well-being holistically, taking into account both our body and our minds. Now, a client of mine shared that she'd spent years thinking that she had really bad asthma and she was on strong medication for it. Now, once she understood it was anxiety and we worked with her nervous system instead of against it, her breathlessness greatly improved and became far more manageable. Now, before we explore the 5 tools that can really help you breathe more freely and feel safer in your body, if you're finding this video helpful, please take a moment to like and subscribe. I know it seems like a small step, but it really helps us reach more people who are silently struggling and they don't yet know that anxiety could be the missing link behind their breathlessness or their other symptoms. Now, I've supported thousands of people who felt like they'd lost trust in their own bodies. And I want you to know that with the right support and understanding, your breath will no longer feel like the enemy. So you can go ahead and hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of the tools and resources that we share every week. Now, there's a whole load of resources over in the description. The one I recommend starting with is the circle of control and influence, because that would really help you take back control. Now, remember, you don't need to be struggling alone. So let's move on to the practical part, what you can actually do to feel better. Now, first of all, we have to start with the breath itself. And you want diaphragmatic breathing. It's gentle and grounding. It's calming and it helps reset the balance between oxygen and carbon dioxide. Now, to do this, the best way is to place one hand on your belly, on your tummy, and one hand on your chest. Now, breathe in slowly through your nose and feel that your tummy, your belly is rising as you breathe in. So you know that you're breathing into your belly. Now, hold it there for 2 seconds and then exhale slowly through pursed lips, like you're blowing out a candle. Now, make that out breath longer than the in-breath, because this is exactly what tells your brain that you're safe. Now, often we think that we can't get a breath in, but it's actually because we haven't given a full breath out. So secondly, check your posture. Like I said, are your shoulders raised or tense? Is your chest tight? You may wish to set a reminder on your phone to stretch, roll your shoulders, or just get up and move about a bit. Better still, step outside. Even a short walk in nature can really help regulate our nervous system and help us feel much, much calmer. Now, third technique you can do is try a grounding mindfulness technique. One of my favorites is the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method. Now, what you do is you just notice 5 things that you can see and really concentrate on them. Notice things about them that you've never noticed before. What are 4 things that you can touch? What are 3 things that you can hear? 2 things that you can smell? And what is something that you can actually taste? Now, this exercise gently pulls our mind out of worry and back into the present moment, the here and the now. Now, if we were to focus on the present moment, not in the future or not in the past, how does that actually make you feel? Because right now, in this present moment, I'm assuming that you are actually safe. Now, fourth technique is to stimulate the vagus nerve. Now, this is your body's natural calming switch. You can do this by simple things such as humming, singing, splashing cold water on your face, or gently massaging the sides of your neck. And again, make your out breath long and slow as you're doing these techniques. And finally, let's talk about the fear of breathlessness. Now, this fear can be more intense than the breathlessness itself. We start to monitor and overanalyze every breath, which only causes us more and more anxiety. But our bodies are so clever. Just like they digest our food or heal cuts without us needing to think about it, they also know how to breathe too. Learning to trust our body again is part of the healing. So often it starts with a moment of stress. Our breathing shifts, we notice it and we panic. The panic makes it worse and suddenly we're trapped in a loop. But every time we interrupt that cycle by shifting our posture, by using grounding techniques, by exhaling slowly, we loosen anxiety's grip. Now, up to 60% of people with panic disorder report breathing issues, and the NHS confirms that anxiety can cause both temporary breathlessness and long-term patterns like chronic hyperventilation. But with the right support, you can make a huge difference, and it's fast. Now, if you're struggling with breathlessness and you want to understand what's really going on, we're here to help you. At Better Your Life, we support people just like you to uncover the root cause of their anxiety, to calm their nervous system, and to regain the trust in their bodies. You don't have to live in fear of your own breath. Click the link in the description to book a free, no obligation consultation call. Now, whether this has just started or it's something that you've lived with for years, we'd love to be able to support you. And if you're not sure where to begin, like I say, you'll find a selection of free resources over in the description. Like my recommendation, you've got an anxious thoughts diary, you've got an exposure ladder that can help you get used to fears that you may have, and you've got the circle of control and influence workbook. And it's perfect in moments when life feels a little bit overwhelming and we need a little bit of clarity. Now, you do deserve to be able to breathe easily. You deserve to feel safe, and you absolutely can. Now, I'd love it if you could leave a comment and share your experiences. Has breathlessness been part of your anxiety? You never know who else might be reading and feeling less alone because of your words. Now, please don't forget to like and subscribe and share this video with someone who really might need it. Now, take care and remember, you can take back control. So until the next time, thank you very much for watching.